Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 5 of the Gradcracker webinars. It's really great to have you here and really excited to be here for another season. I would first like to introduce the Gradcracker members of the panel. So my name's Carla, I'm a director at Gradcracker. I've been with the business for over 14 years and have looked after Mercedes Formula One for the last 4 years. Jess?
Oh God, well, I've been here 14 years and 1 month.
More
But yes,
than me.
my whole career. But yeah, basically my name is Jess. I'm marketing director. My role is to make sure students like yourself, all the universities across the UK, are aware of Gradcracker, the amazing employees we have, and the fantastic opportunities.
Thanks very much, Jess. So for those who joined us last year on the webinars, welcome back. It's good to have you back again. And for those who are new this year to the webinars, I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction about what you can expect. So during the webinar, our aim is to find out a little bit more about Mercedes Formula One. So we will talk about who they are, what they do, and also what opportunities are open to you, our STEM students, and what you can apply for. We will then speak to the students about what life is like for them. So things like what projects they've worked on, if they're involved in any networking groups, what training and development they've received so far, and any future plans that they might have. We will then end the webinar by discussing the recruitment process and giving you an idea of how you can be successful when you do apply. We have an amazing lineup of employees who are taking part in the webinar series this year. So make sure you take a look on Gradcracker and register your interest to future webinars. A new feature this year is that you can submit questions prior to the webinar for us to ask the panel. Some questions will then be selected and raised as part of the webinar. You can send us your question on the webinar page on Gradcracker, and with me and Jess would like to thank all of you who've already submitted their questions already. So let's start the webinar with Mercedes Formula One. So Angela, welcome again. It's really, really good to have you back.
Thank you.
So Angela is the Early Careers Recruitment Advisor and will be giving you, our students, an insight into Mercedes Formula One, the roles which are due to go live on Gradcracker tomorrow, and also more details about the application process. We're also joined by industrial placement students, Maddie and Matthew, Mithil and Tawana, and who we'll be speaking to very shortly. So Angela, over to you again. I can't believe it's been a year. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and Mercedes Formula One.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for inviting us back. We always like the Gradcracker webinar on our calendar in our early careers plan. So yeah, we're really excited to speak to you and all the students today about our opportunities. For everyone who's not familiar with Mercedes Formula One, we have quite a long history in Formula One in the sport, and we are ever developing. So definitely one of the key benefits of working in the industry is to be in a very fast-paced, cutting-edge industry where innovation is really at the heart of what we do, and how amazing to put some of your studies into practice by coming and doing a year industrial placement with us.
Perfect, thanks Angela. And you kind of want to get across to the students as well that Mercedes Formula One and Formula One in general is for everybody, isn't it? A sector for everybody.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, we're looking for students who, are very passionate about what they do. You don't necessarily need to be an F1 fan to work in F1. We're looking for the very best to come and bring their key skills here and contribute to the team. I know, I personally wasn't a Formula One fan when I first joined the team. Definitely am now. But, it's really the love of the sport and really, how everybody really puts, everything into it. So, it's just an amazing place to work. So definitely encourage anybody who hasn't already looked at Formula One to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Angela. And just mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that your roles are due to go live on Gradcracker from tomorrow. Yeah. So kind of watch this space, students who are watching the webinar, and make sure you go and follow Mercedes Formula One. So then as soon as we go live with your opportunities, you will be alerted. But Angela, give the students who are watching a bit of a taste about what they can expect that's going to go live.
Yep. So on Gradcracker, we have new role descriptions, so you can go and have a look and see what opportunities we will be posting tomorrow. But we have a few new areas that have joined us this year in our operational side, so really exciting. So we have new roles in composites, quality engineering, and reliability. And we also have a few more roles in research and development this year.
Yeah. And all those roles will be based where you are.
Yes, yeah. So they're all factory based here in Brackley.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Angela. So we're going to come back to Angela towards the end of the webinar to talk about the application process, hints and tips. And we're also going to come to the students as well to give their specific hints and tips about how people who are applying can be successful. So for now, I'm going to hand over to Jess, and we're going to speak to the placement students who all found their jobs on Gradcracker and all watched the webinar last year. So people who are watching this year, you might be part of the webinar next year. Hope you kept up with that, Jess. Over to you.
Yes. Hope fingers crossed. Do you know, it was nice actually. I need to do another little shout out to Hannah, who we spoke to last year on her webinar, and now back at university. And I had a lovely catch up with her last week and saying what an amazing time she had with you, Angela, and how much she loved the placement. So shout out to Hannah as well. All right. Anyway, so Maddie, you're on top of my list. So I'm starting with you. So Maddie, please can you kind of introduce yourself a bit, tell us a bit about yourself, where you went to university and what you studied.
Yep, okay, so I'm Maddie, I'm the Applied Science Industrial Placement student here, and I studied mechanical engineering at the University of Nottingham before I started my placement.
You did. And why did you decide to study mechanical engineering at Nottingham?
I picked Nottingham purely because I liked the campus. And we've got a great engineering department and a really supportive placement team. But mechanical engineering, I knew I wanted to go into like automotive, motorsport, and it seemed like the best way to do that.
That's good. So it has always been really a passion for you, Maddie.
Yeah, I enjoyed maths and physics at school, and I figured if I'm good at it, I'll carry on with that.
Let's do it, absolutely. And shout out to Nottingham actually, because we've got a lot of students joining us from Nottingham today. So hello everyone from Nottingham. So yeah, Maddie,
just to make Maddie a little bit more nervous. Maddie, all of your friends are watching.
They're probably the whole year group, but it's fine. So Maddie, tell us a bit about your role then. So applied science is not something that you would maybe assume that be a position at Mercedes Formula One. So tell us a bit about your role, when you joined and what you've been up to.
Yeah, so we all joined about 2 months ago, but since joining, we've had like all the training you can think of in absolutely every element of the role. So it's been great. But applied science, most people don't really know what we do, but we offer our like F1 engineering services to more commercial projects. So we're not working with the F1 car, but we use like the same technology, the same expertise. A lot of people can swap between car work and non-F1 work. So things people might heard of at the moment are the America's Cup boat. We had a lot of people in applied science working on that. We also do like our wind tunnel operations here. And we work with like lots of different industries. So I've been told we did like a sports equipment firm project. We also work with some defense companies, aerospace, automotive, but yeah, it's more commercial side. So I'd say there's a lot more variety of the type of projects you can be put on.
Absolutely. And we're going to come to your projects a little bit later on, Maddie, to find out in a bit more detail what obviously you can talk about, but what you've been involved in. But have you felt that already you've got that variety in terms of exposure to projects and being given the responsibility to get involved?
Yeah, it's been great. Like joining middle of the year, there's obviously quite a few things going on. So as I kind of get to grips with everything, they put me on lots of different projects. And then as I, find my feet a bit, I'll be, set off on a project for a few months. So I have something to kind of own by the end of the placement. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and this is something that I do want to make sure we all cover, because it sounds as though, obviously, I know from doing past webinars experiences that you guys do have quite a bit of responsibility throughout this kind of 13-month window. But, that kind of handing the baton on as well is a big part of the program, isn't it? Looking after the next generation that's going to come in through next year. So anyone that is listening to the webinar today, take note of what these guys are doing, because you actually might be seeing them next year when you go on to apply and you're going through the application process. So yeah, definitely make notes and really listen to what these guys are doing, because you do get heavily involved in the recruitment process as well, don't you? Matt, you were saying just before the session that you'll get involved in seeing students that have come on to apply and getting involved in the interview process and things like that. So really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
next, Maddie.
sorry, Jess. I was going to say something really nice that I like to do is when we go around for our university visits, I like to bring the industrial placements who are from that university to be our ambassadors, as it were, to come and talk about their experience, and then also go back to their home universities and, you know, be able to see their friends and other placement students.
Which is a really good idea. And I think this is the perfect idea for the webinar, isn't it? So then everyone can think, God, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, it gives you that confidence, that kind of peer-to-peer advice, thinking, you know, makes it a bit more relatable, which is a really good idea. So thank you, Maddie, for that intro. I'm going to come back to you and ask you so many more questions. But Matt, I've got you next on my list. I know we're going to be a bit backwards and forwards now, but I haven't copied and pasted and sorted out my notes since you guys have all moved rooms. So Matt, you're next on my list. Hi Matt, thank you for joining us. Tell us a bit about yourself and where you went to university and what did you study?
So I'm doing an integrated master's in mechanical engineering. I'm at the University of Leeds. So yeah, a bit of a trek from here, but yeah, nice to move away from there and sort of do a year out within that course.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a massive fan of Leeds, so Leeds.
Oh,
It's you don't want to be too far away from Leeds. Matt, you've actually got a little shout out as well that you want to say hi to someone, don't you, that's joined you over today.
Yeah, no, my brother's watching today. He's gonna hate me for calling him out.
Hi, James.
So yeah, sorry about that, James. Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
It didn't want to tell us, to be honest with you, James, but you know, it was like, come on, what's his name and where does he go to university?
Yeah, what's he doing? So yeah, tell us a bit about life so far for you then, Matt. You know, what have you been up to in terms of your role, and why did you decide to apply to Mercedes Formula One?
Yeah, so I'm in the powertrain integration role. So that covers everything from exhaust to cooling to transmission design. And my areas are fueling and integration. So I looking at the fuel cell on the car and that side of things.
And to do it as quickly as possible, I can imagine. Aim of the game.
Yes, yeah, I know it's it covers quite a lot, and so that's where I am. And the last 2 months have been, I mean, they've absolutely flown by. Sort of everything from the onboarding tasks to all the training on, you know, CAD software and simulation software and things like that, to then actually just getting straight stuck into projects, been through a full development cycle on a project and design reviews already, and moving on to something a bit bigger now, and it just straight into it.
And how do you feel being thrown straight into it? Because an outsider, or you know, if someone else listening is thinking, "Oh, could I be able to do it?" But how have you found it, and how do you feel that you've had the support?
Yeah, well, I think I was naturally a bit nervous coming into it. You kind of think, you know, you're joining a company of 1,200 people. You know, you feel like a very small fish. But actually, the great thing with the 13-month placement is that we overlap with the previous IPs by a month. So I was sat next to Jensen, who was doing the job that I'm doing now before me. And essentially, we were on the same desk, and he was just showing me sort of all the projects he's sort of not quite finished that he's handing over, as well as how the software works, you know, introducing me to all the team. And actually, by the end of the first week, I sort of, you know, almost felt like I'd been here for months already. Yeah.
That's so nice, isn't it? That's such a nice thing to say as well, that you felt that you've got that support. You know, it felt natural, it felt easy, because I can imagine it would be really overwhelming. You know, just the name Mercedes Formula One, it's like, oh my goodness. So it's nice that you can genuinely say that you did feel that you've got that network of support around you.
No, definitely.
So Matty, in terms of time frame, it was similar time to when Maddie joined as well. So you've been there 2 months.
Yeah. So yeah, all 4 of us joined 1st of July as the new cohort. So yeah. And
that's how it works, Angela, isn't it? Everyone will join at the same time, isn't it?
So typically, so if our candidates require a visa, they do have to start a little bit later because we can only offer a maximum of 12 months for anybody who requires a visa and sponsorship. But yeah, generally it's the beginning of July. So it's my favorite month because you guys are all joining and everybody's like, oh, I'm so excited. And you guys had a particularly good first week, I must say.
Yeah, I want to hear all about the first week and the details of what's been going on there. So looking forward to hearing that. Okay, next on my list, Mithan, I've got you next. If you would like to introduce yourself and tell me a bit about, you know, where you studied, why you studied it, and what's life been like for you so far.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Mithan. I've just finished my 3rd year at Imperial College doing mechanical engineering.
Yep.
And I went to Imperial mainly just because I wanted to study in London, from quite a small town. So I wanted to get a bit of a change, go to London. And now
Yep.
here I'm doing, I'm in the vehicle dynamics group, and we're specializing in tires. So sort of how the tires perform over the race weekend. And my group's in charge of looking at trying to optimize that to get the car to go as quick as possible.
Wow. Okay, to me that sounds like quite a lot of responsibility. You know, that's the the main thing of the day. So in terms of experience beforehand, it sounds as though, you know, did you need to have much experience? You know, do you know what you're doing? Do you feel like you've got that support with what you've been up to so far?
Honestly, when I came in, I had absolutely no idea. Barely even knew what the job was about. To be honest, didn't really have most of the skills needed, but everyone around me has been super helpful to help me develop the skills that I need to be able to do it. And everyone around me is super, super understanding of the fact that, you know, you've just come in from university. Everyone else has been there a lot of people have been there their whole life. So everyone's always willing to support you, and there's sort of no blame culture. So if you do make mistakes early on, no one's going to be on your back about it. Everyone will just support. And it's all about being a team together to get as many race wins as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So first top tip then for anyone who is listening, what would be that skill that anyone could maybe practice now to prepare them if they were applying to Mercedes? No pressure. I've proper put you on the spot there.
I mean, apart from all the interview skills and all that kind of stuff, in terms of on the job, the most important thing I'd say would be just being able to talk to other people and gain knowledge from other people, because everyone around you is so knowledgeable about their job. Everyone around you has been, you know, they're so passionate about it, and being able to listen to other people, understand, you know, what they're thinking, being able to learn from other people, I'd say would be the most important thing, because if you can do that, then you can pick up skills so quickly, and you'll be off.
That is a perfect top tip, isn't it? Go on. Yes, sorry, Andrew, please.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, like, Nathan is a prime example for, you know, we don't expect our industrial placements to know how to do the job right away on day one. Like the first part of the placement is all about the learning and development. And so really, if you're a candidate, just think about all the key transferable skills that you can bring to the role, and we will teach all the rest that you need to know, like within your first couple of months. And you're not expected to be a tires expert from day one. Like that's not the expectation. So yeah, I think that hopefully that helps to allay any fears that people might have.
Absolutely. And I think as well, the word teamwork has been thrown around already, and we're only 18 minutes in. So I think communication, teamwork, you know, and being a good listener. And again, if I was someone who think about applying to Mercedes Formula One, I'd be jotting these down, thinking, right, these are the kind of skills I need to be practicing over the next few months, you know, make sure that, you know, how am I with my communication skills, you know, am I a good listener, and practice that. So yeah, if I was a student now, I think that's what I'd be writing down. So yeah, you don't have to be a tire professional just yet.
It's asking those questions as well, isn't it, in the crossover period, but that you've got with your, you know, the student who's handed over to you as well. I think that month you have to kind of like a sponge, isn't it? Ask all the questions that you can and get all the information out of the person, because that's what they're there for, and that's why Mercedes runs the 13-month program, because you do have that crossover.
Which is really good. It's quite unique, that as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
We do that, so it's quite nice that you do get that option to communicate with that individual before they leave. So Anna, I'm going to come to you last but absolutely not least, giving you the full spotlight. Tell me a bit about yourself. Where did you go to university? What did you study? And what have you been up to so far?
So I'm Tawana. I studied aeronautics and astronautics at the University of Southampton, and I'm an aerodynamics industrial placement here at Mercedes, but within the applied science group of the aerodynamics department. So I've been primarily focused on sort of other customer projects. So my main big project recently has been the America's Cup project. So working on that.
Fantastic. And personally then, you know, trying to go back to Andrew's point as well, you don't always necessarily have to have a passion straight off the bat for motorsports or, you know, the automotive sector. Has that been a passion for you, or was it maybe more the aerospace side and aeronauticals? It was more of an interest.
I just enjoyed engineering in general. So coming into the applied science group is great because you get a good mix of things. So not just purely focused on the car, you've got other projects going on as well. So it's been great to learn a lot of new things I would have never sort of learned without Mercedes.
Yeah, I think as well, an applied science role to me, I'd be like, oh, that sounds really attractive as well, because again, you get to experience quite a bit of, different things as well, don't you? As well as, working with different industries, as well as, finding out, the latest technology. So how have you found the process then? Again, similar time, couple of months you've been there so far. What's the process been like for you?
It's been great. So the first month was sort of focused on training, whilst mixing in a few live projects here and there as well. So I had the support of my old industrial placement as well. So he was sort of guiding me through things and sort of teaching me everything I needed to know. So as soon as he left, I sort of picked up what he was working on. So it's a nice, smooth transition period.
And in terms of kind of size of the team and things like that, so are you and Maddie quite close in terms of, are you in the same room working together, or is it slightly
No.
different? No, how do you guys work together then if you're both in applied science?
We don't, unfortunately.
There's not a lot of crossover, which is quite nice because I don't know anything about aerodynamics. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm within the sort of main aerodynamics office with the sort of people who work on the car as well. So it's a good environment.
Right, okay.
Whereas
Oh,
we're
that's
more
quite-
design based. We do a lot more design, not aero, just design, really.
I see. In my mind, I had you like under the applied science umbrella, thinking you guys would be in an office together, but no, it's not then. It's quite different.
We're in the same building.
Teachers for lunch.
Yeah.
So next, I want to find out, obviously, in a lot more detail, what the first week of joining Mercedes Formula One was like, because I've heard that you've kind of done a lot of exciting things. But first, I want to go back a little bit of a step and to find out, how did you prepare for joining Mercedes Formula One, and the kind of the prep that you did. So Matt, I'm going to come to you on this one. And yeah, what was the prep that you put in for the first week of your placement?
In terms of first week was just kind of, settling in. I think it came before then, because actually Mercedes have a welcome day. So all the IPs, which I found completely invaluable, like that was so useful. And we had a day over the Easter holidays, so April time, where Angela invited everyone to come to the office, and we had a whole day of sort of talks from, people, sort of like upper management, as well as meeting our managers and the people we're going to be working with. And we just had a day of all meeting each other. So actually coming into the first week, I was felt quite at ease, because actually I already, I'd met everyone before. We've got a really good group of IPs. There's 34 of us, I think, this year. And we'd all met each other. We've all sort of in the process of moving into houses in Brackley. And so actually, in terms of the first week, I kind of felt, ready for it. Just, having that meeting earlier.
You mentioned the point about moving. So, for some students, that might be a bit nerve-wracking. Again, what was the process like for you, and how did you overcome that and get organised so you were all settled and ready to go for the start date?
So I was quite lucky. I knew someone from Leeds that was also working here.
Okay.
And so the two of us had made a decision quite early on. And I know that's not how everyone does it. Lots of people, most people I'd say met at that welcome day, and you get chatting to people, and then sort of, find a house. Housing is not as easy in Brackley, which is a tiny little village, compared to, Leeds or London. But there's loads of options around, and you find somewhere quite close. I mean, I'm a 5-minute walk from work. So it's dead easy to get to and from.
Yeah, that's really good. And then in terms of kind of living with someone else, that's a good point. So yeah, definitely, I'll be taking notes, audience, if you're listening. Those days to kind of start to network is always a good one, isn't it? To network, get those relationships, because that could actually be quite helpful in the future if you're moving together and things like that. That could be a good support. Angela, have you got anything else to add to that in terms of moving and kind of getting organised before that first week?
Yeah, so we like to have the welcome day, and it might have been a little bit cringy for these guys at the time, but we did some fun icebreaker activities where they kind of got to know each other. We had a fun question about what's your favorite house chore, and I was like, everybody take note. Your future housemates. But no, it was good fun, and wherever possible, it's nice that most of our industrial placements try to live in Brackley wherever possible. But you know, we have lots of members of the team who commute in. So, you know, we have surrounding areas like Bicester, Banbury close by. So it really varies on like personal preference, where you want to be. You know, Banbury and Bicester have the train station so that they can, you know, students can get into London a little bit easier, or you know, if they want to spend the weekend back at home, hop on the train type of thing. But yeah, it's a really nice opportunity to kind of live with somebody else as well, like who's also on placement.
Yeah.
Most of you guys tend to, you know, kind of find your housemates at the welcome day, which is really nice to see, and see everybody getting along quite well. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, that's lovely. And that's a really good point as well, isn't it? It's nice then to know that you're going through it together. You know, if you need that support, maybe when you get home, think, am I doing all right? You know, what should I be doing? You've got that network at home as well when you get back. Mithin, so come and then tell us about your first week. What's gone down and what have you been up to?
Yeah, so the first week for us was super eventful. So when we joined, we'd just come after the Austria race win. So our first day, everyone was in amazing moods. You know, everyone was super ecstatic from the weekend. And then we sort of jumped straight into our in-person HR training, things like that. And sort of we did loads of exciting stuff. Like for me personally, the clothing, going to pick up team clothing was so much fun, seeing all the kit that we got to collect. And then we had the race debrief where we went over the weekend, what happened, how we managed to win. Everyone had the race winners t-shirts on. So that was super fun. And as mentioned before, we had the overlap period with our old industrial placement student. So I'd spent a lot of time with him, getting to know what the role entails and going through what we need to do, trying to understand what skills I need to have. And that was sort of the bulk of the first week, just really easing into the role. It was really nice to have my old industrial placement, so it wasn't all just on me straight away. He was able to do a lot of the work and I could shadow him, or I could start trying to do some work and he would make sure I'm not messing it up too badly. And then, yes, towards the end of the week, we had Silverstone as well, which also was another race win for us, which is just incredible. So overall, our first week started with a race win and ended with the race win, so it couldn't have been much better.
It's worth mentioning that we went to a Friday practice as a company on at the end of our first week. So they basically just have a whole load of shuttle buses from outside the factory at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you hop on, go and watch the cars go around the track. So I know for quite a few of the placements that was first time seeing cars on track, and so that was that was quite special.
Angie, does it always fall that Silverstone's that weekend then, or was that just a...
No, well, it's
like
very luckily fallen that way for the past 2 years, but it's not always. But yeah, I mean, I think these guys just had such an amazing person swimming wise as well. It's just fantastic. So, you know, it was a really nice welcome to the team.
Yeah. And Maddie, did you have a similar experience as well? So did you all go? Was that a similar experience for you?
Yeah, I think the majority of us went to that Silverstone weekend. It was encouraged that, you know, everyone, you know, takes the day, goes as a team, and yeah, just kind of sees what it's all about, because a lot of people work on the car and then, as Matt said, they'll never go to a race and, you know, see what their work can do on track. So it was very cool for us. I think it was very motivating to kind of get started the following week.
Yeah, I can imagine. Which actually you've kind of answered my question there, to be honest, Maddie. But Carla mentioned right at the beginning of this webinar, students before the webinar can submit questions. We closed those questions out 3 days before the event, today's webinar. So we closed them out on Friday and we had a good look through the questions, and we had lots of questions. So thank you for everyone who did submit a question. We've got a question in from Tom at the University of Bristol, who wanted to know, do you get to work on the car from day one? So it seems as though you get experience with the car very early on. You guys managed to get that experience. For people going into those roles where you will be working on the car, that seems to be the case. So how quickly did you meet the car? How quickly did you get to touch it, feel it, and see it? And what was your experiences like with that? If anyone wants to go first with that question, really.
Well, those two are applied science, so I feel like it kind of falls on us. We do. Yeah, so the good thing about Silverstone is it's just down the road. So what happens is that with the cars is when they're in, in the Middle East or in South America, the cars will go out and they'll stay out and all the work will be done, at the track. Whereas when we're in Europe, the cars come home quite a lot.
Okay.
So actually, within 2 weeks, the cars were down in the race bays, and I was my line manager was taking me down and showing me the fuel cell and things like that, and looking at what I'd sort of the areas that I'd be working on, and so that was really good. In terms of working on the car from day one, it's not quite that daunting. Like, you're not going to be thrown in and expected to like design safety critical parts from the first day. Like, lots of my projects are to do with like off-car rigs and things like that. So things that support the car in the garage or when it's back at the factory. There will be chances later on, but when I've only just started using CAD software for a week, I'm not going to be expected to design something straight off the bat that will go on the car. So there definitely is opportunity to design parts on the car, but maybe not in your first week. Yeah.
Which is good. Which is good. You want to get to know, what's going on first, like you said, before you're in front of doing big things like that. Also, next, I want to talk a bit about projects. And Tawana, I think you and Maddie, I want to hear a bit about the projects that you've been involved in, because it's slightly different. And you're getting lots of experience across lots of different industries, working with external partners as well. So tell us a bit more about the projects that you've been involved in and what you've been up to so far.
So my main project since I've joined has been the America's Cup. So that started a couple of weeks ago. So I sort of joined right at the final push to get the boat ready, which was good. Okay. And I had sort of no experience of sailing whatsoever. I knew absolutely nothing about sailing, nothing about hydrodynamics as well. So it was sort of good to learn a new thing. So we had lots of training, some aerodynamic department-wide training, so like CAD training, CFD training, that sort of thing. Brilliant. Plus some training specific to the project I was working on. So I had a lot of sort of sailing lessons, teaching me the fundamentals of sort of the theory behind sailing, that sort of thing, which was useful to know.
I can imagine. That's a fantastic opportunity. So where was you doing that? And was that done in your spare time?
It was sort of theoretical lessons.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I was thinking you get your sailing jacket on, your hat on.
Perspective, yeah.
So how did that go? And what was that like? And what did that entail?
It was great. So it was sort of lessons prepared by sort of members of the sailing team, specifically for the Mercedes Applied Science group. So they sort of have a good understanding of sort of what they were working on, as sort of our main area of expertise is aerodynamics. So it's been very useful to learn that.
And did you know before applying that you were going to be working on something like this? Or was this been, like you say, something that's really all kind of new and you didn't expect to be working in this kind of area with these?
I knew I'd be in the applied science group, but the specific project was sort of unknown at the time. So it's a nice surprise. So that's a good thing about applied science. You get sort of lots of different projects, different things to be working on, which has been nice.
And then how long will you be working on this project for until you kind of transition on the next one, or will this be you now for the next 13 months?
I have no idea, which is sort of the beauty of it. Anything can come across, jump onto. So yeah, just wait and see.
Wait and see. If you wanted to move around, could you? Or are you, where'd you get that support and that kind of line on what is going to...
Just whatever, depends on what projects you've got going on at the time. So it's very dependent on that as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good, like team ethos, like wherever the help is needed type of thing. But I think, with all of the different applied science projects, I think you guys have probably be kept busy for quite a while doing that. But, kind of going back to what we said in the beginning of the webinar, you don't have to be an F1 fan to work in F1. Our applied science division is really quite exciting. So say you were passionate about, the America's Cup, like that would be a super awesome activity to get involved in as part of our team.
Yeah, definitely. So next I want to talk a bit about training, and we've talked a lot about that already, about the development and support that you've had already in the space of 2 months. But how does it work for you and your team and the role that you've been involved in? And what have you been learning so far? So Maddie, I'm going to come to you with that question first, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So we all had the kind of mandatory CAD training, which was really super helpful, because I think even if you've used a package before at uni, it might not be the same one we use here. So it's just good to get everyone kind of up to speed. And then for us in applied science, we got to go around all the different departments downstairs, so not in the design office. We're kind of down in machine shop, model shop. I spent half a day in the wind tunnel, half a day in kind of rapid prototyping, inspection. So I essentially got to see where things start, the processes they go through, and then where ultimately it ends up on the model in the tunnel. And it's nice, you get to meet everyone who will kind of be working on the parts that you're designing. So they kind of say like, oh, could you not do this? It makes our job easier to manufacture if you design parts this certain way. And obviously, if you have designed a part, they'll be coming up to you saying this isn't quite right. So it's nice to like see a familiar face rather than just someone from model shop saying, oh, you need to fix this.
Yeah.
So that took up like the first couple of weeks. And then kind of you sit down with your IP and do the handover if they're giving you their project to work on. And then, yeah, personally, I started working on some CAD models, and then I also work on the customer cars that we work with. And that's more kind of, I'd say it's more admin-y than design, but it's really interesting to see kind of how that overlap happens.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to mention there as well, obviously, the company hub on Gradcracker that you guys have is absolutely full of all the areas that Maddie's just mentioned there. I had a bit of a geeky look around the hub before the call. You've added, Angela and Carl, you've added lots of new content to the hub, haven't you? And everything that kind of Maddie's mentioned there is on the hub. Matthew, you're going to get told off in a minute.
It's Nathan's laptop.
Nathan.
Yeah, just to kind of second what Jess said before we went live with the webinar, so like Angela mentioned at the beginning, and there's like role descriptors and things like that, so you guys who are watching can really find out more about the specific opportunities that Mercedes will be opening tomorrow. But there's also things like people profiles, video content. There's lots that you can utilize, and this is exactly what these guys did when they applied to Mercedes Formula One last year. It's a perfect area to be able to do all of your research and everything else. And obviously, this webinar as well, you're hearing it straight from the students' mouths about what you can get up to and all of the exciting things as well. So yeah, go on over, not now, after the webinar, and have a good look. And again, when I mentioned the jobs going live tomorrow, the job descriptions will be full about all the different areas, what you can apply to and things like that. So no time like now is there really. Start doing your research and then get your applications in from tomorrow.
And
Yeah,
I think something that people might be really surprised about is the variety of roles.
Yeah.
Because I think, most people think that we're only engineers and like that's it, but there's a whole variety of different roles that we do offer.
Yeah.
So I always encourage, all the students and the candidates just to go have a read, and especially if they're like, I don't know what that role actually entails, like definitely have a read of that, because that might be something that's actually quite interesting. We just call it maybe something quite unique in our industry.
And just on that, Angela, well, I remember, so students who wanting to apply, can they apply to more than one opportunity, or do they really have to have a look and think, right, I want to apply to this one?
Nope, you can apply to more than one.
Yeah.
So, there's no limit on number of applications you can submit. Obviously, we would just bear in mind that, don't just click the same application over and over, because that first cover letter, you don't want that to be, oh, I'd love to work in vehicle dynamics, and then send that back to applied science as well. So just a little watch point there. But yeah, you can apply to more than one opportunity. I would just, say to candidates, just be prepared to potentially sit more than one technical test if you apply for more than one opportunity.
Yeah, perfect. We'll be finding out a little bit more about that later on.
And that's another little top tip. And just to say, don't be copying and pasting applications. Make sure you read them before you send them. They should all be lovely and personalized to all the requirements that Angela's looking for, with the right job title at the top of the page. Don't paste without checking. So yes, we're talking. Thank you, Maddie, for all that, by the way, about your experiences so far and the support that you've had. And it seems as though you've got a lot of training. Do you get a mentor at any point? Have you got a buddy or a friend or someone maybe a bit more senior to support you through this as well?
So I think maybe someone in design office might be better answering this question, because I think they do get someone outside of their department. So I don't know if Matt wants to take that.
Yeah, so I have a buddy who essentially who's a grad student in a sort of department outside of powertrain. So he happens to be composites, and it could be anyone, but it's essentially someone that's sort of a similar level within the business to me that I can just, and the two of us, we go down to the hub where we have lunch and we just sit and chat for half an hour every fortnight and just kind of catch up. And it's nothing technical. It's just, how's everything setting in? Is there anything, you'd like to ask, little things like where to go to answer this question or things like that. They've been here a bit longer than I have. And so, yeah, a bit more experience, but not someone, like your line manager, not someone that's, a lot senior than you. So I have that, yeah, which is really useful.
It'll be interesting as well how those conversations will develop over the next 13 months, because questions that you'll be asking, and I bet how those conversations started to where do I go to get this and what do I do with this, to where what you'll be asking in 13 months time. That's where I bet you'll see your own personal development.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, and it's going to be weird almost doing that role for the next IPs, because at the moment I still feel like, well, I have only just started, but actually, my IP seemed to know, an awful lot, and he was like, well, I didn't know any of it when I started, so no pressure. But you're right, like you say, I'll develop a lot within myself over the 13 months. Yeah,
absolutely. And that confidence in yourself as well. At the moment, it's a bit like, oh, should I not? And am I on about the right thing? Whereas, it'll be a pro by the end of it. Has anyone else got any particular training they want to mention whilst we're on the topic? Has anyone else felt as though they've had anything experience-wise, or?
No, I think lots of the CAD training is quite self-directed, but it's useful because everyone across the business uses the same package, and so it just means I'm always popping my head over my desk and asking my line manager, oh, sorry, do you mind giving me a hand with this? How do you do that? And everyone's so happy to help that actually we had a couple of training days that were sort of really intense, but you don't have to sit there and think I need to remember everything, because actually everyone's so helpful that the training just comes over the 13 months. Yeah.
Matt, a kind of chucking the curveball question at you, kind of top tips then. Again, is there anything that you know now that maybe you think, oh, I wish I knew before I started, or anything that a student could be doing to kind of practice their skills? So Nathan, you had that, the really good points of being a good communicator, good team player. Have you got anything like that to add? More of a technical question maybe that anyone could be practicing?
To be honest, I don't think so, because you are coming into this role as a university student. You're not expected to know everything. You're not expected to jump in and just crack on. And actually, you could sit here and say, oh, it would be useful coming in on day one knowing how to do everything. But actually, it's almost part of the process, being able to, being an open communicator and just happy to ask questions. And I think that's a big thing. It's just as soon as you think of something, you do a little bit of your own research, but actually just ask, because people have been here for 20 years or so. There's a whole wealth of knowledge within the company.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I think that's actually a really good answer. I think that's actually better than, saying do this, do that, because I think this is where, again, when my experience of speaking to students that I think considering doing a placement, they put the pressure on themselves maybe sometimes too much and think, am I supposed to know everything? Again, thinking, oh, do I need to show off all this stuff? Well, you don't. It's all right to say, actually, I don't know, but I want to know. And how can you help me? And how can you show me? And would you say, Matt, you've done that? You've been asking those questions?
Yes, definitely. And I think also in the interview as well, do the same. Again, you'll get questions. You don't have to know the answers. Lots of questions they'll ask knowing that you probably shouldn't know the answer, but it's what's your thought process of getting to the answer, and that side of it.
Yeah, I think sometimes like when we are asking some of our technical questions, sometimes the best answers are the ones where almost like you're showing your work, you're showing your analytical skills, and you're showing your thought process. So when you're kind of working through, okay, well, if I've presented with this scenario, what would I tackle first? What would I look for? What avenues would I explore initially? And just kind of, you know, making sure that the panel member is kind of along with you on that journey as you're trying to get to the answer. And it may be that you don't get to the final answer at the end, but you've at least shown that you have the capability of, you know, problem solving and kind of taking all these different aspects into account. And I think that's a really important kind of life skill, really, when you're tackling complex situations.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? And I was thinking, go on, Gal.
No, I was just going to say, definitely, it's like when you were doing exams at school, and it's not necessarily having the right answer, it's just showing how you worked out your answers and kind of your thought process behind it and everything else. So it's just like that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's not what they are, it's how you got there.
Yeah.
That might be another bit of top tip, that. Next I want to talk about the fun stuff. So, Tawana, I'm going to come to you. What have you been up to? What's the kind of social life like at Mercedes? What do you get up to, you know, on your lunch after work? Is there social events?
So it's
Living social?
great because we've got so many other industrial placements here with us. So you're not on your own. For us, you've got so many other people in the same situation as you. So it's been great spending a lot of time with them. And also the one month overlap with the previous industrial placements was great. So you could sort of show us around Brackley, show us like things to do, that sort of thing. Which has been really good. So during lunches, there's a wide variety of things. We've got so many people all working here, different interests, all sorts of things you can do. There's cycling groups, running groups, as a lunchtime football group. So on Fridays, I sometimes go and play football with sort of other people from the company. It's been a good way to meet new people outside of your department as well.
Yeah.
And also some days, sort of a big group of IPs go and volunteer at the local football club, serving lunch to sort of elderly people, having conversations with them, all organised through Mercedes, which has been really good.
That's really good. It's nice to give back. And in terms of getting involved in those groups then, how did you find out what was going on? Again, what was, you know, how did you put yourself in those situations to say, I want to get involved and I want to volunteer?
So we have a sort of newsletter that goes out every week, which is full of these things. So just see whatever you like, just to sign up to it. Yeah.
And do you know what? That kind of, you know, it's so too dissimilar to university, is it? You know, you see the groups, you see it, it's getting involved. So I think sometimes as well, don't think that it's almost worlds apart. It's, you know, put yourself out there, get involved, sign up to stuff and see what happens next. Mithin, have you had any kind of social events that you've been involved in?
Yeah, so as Tawana was saying, there's so many groups to just meet different people, which is just amazing. And I think the main way that all of us find out about those is the old IPs. So the 1 month overlap, the IPs will tell you every day, oh, there's this going on, there's that going on, come join this, come do that. And the first month, I think all of us would say socially was really, really hectic. It felt like freshers all over again, trying to get involved as much as possible, meet as many people as possible. But you do meet a lot of new friends and a lot of people, because the company's so big, there will be people who have similar interests to you. So you will be able to do things, you know, on the weekends in your free time that will appeal to you. That there is something for everyone.
And do you know what? I'm a bit surprised. So I've done this. Will be my 5th webinar in Mercedes Formula One, and no one's mentioned the cafeteria or food this year.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Food as good as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, the food is fantastic. Yeah, subsidized meals as well. So it's well priced. Yeah, that is really good.
Yeah, and all of us
different options every day.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've eaten the same thing twice. I've been here for 2 months. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
It's always
it's really nice. I always see like a big group like having lunch together. And then sometimes in the meal times in the evening as well, like before going home, which is really nice. So yeah.
Oh, good.
How are you?
Checking about the food. I want to know what's going on there.
All about the food.
And Carla, let's find out what's happening tomorrow. I'm excited.
Thank you very much, Jessica. So yes, Angela, we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar and halfway through, you are opening all of your opportunities on Gradcracker tomorrow. So very, very exciting times. I can't wait. So let's talk to you about the application process. So mentioned before, students can find the opportunity, scroll down to the bottom, click apply. What's the next stages?
Yep, so we ask candidates to submit a cover letter and a CV as a single PDF. So please do be mindful of which vacancy you're applying to, so you send the right cover letter. Candidates will then be prompted to fill in our questionnaire. And this is really their opportunity to tell us a bit more about themselves. You know, we know that universities tend to coach you on having a short, punchy CV. So in our questionnaire, we really give candidates the opportunity to talk about extracurricular activities, other awards, other projects they've been involved in, and just give you that time and space to really detail those further. So I would always encourage candidates to fully take use of that space to tell us more about themselves. And then as soon as your application is submitted, you'll receive an automated message indicating which tests you need to take for that particular vacancy, and you'll have a 7-day window in order to take those tests. So we really do encourage candidates to take them as soon as possible. Please don't leave it to the last minute. Take your tests in good time when you're comfortable and you have good internet connection, all that kind of good stuff. And then after that, all the test scores and applications will be sifted and sorted. So yeah.
So just to ask a question there, Angela. So you've mentioned about submitting your CV and cover letter, and then you also mentioned that there's like a questionnaire where you ask the students to give a little bit more detail. Yeah. So thinking, what would you expect to see on the CV and cover letter then that might be different to the questionnaire?
So I think, when you talk about which modules you've taken and your actual grades, it might not be possible for you to fit all of that onto your CV, and you might want to detail it further and talk a little bit more about things that you learned as part of that project, or different key aspects that you want to get across as part of your application. So I think where CVs can be maybe short and you kind of expect hiring managers to know what that particular course entails, you can then detail that further maybe in the questionnaire if that's something that you feel is really applicable to that role.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just mentioned before about the questions that we've had coming in from the students. So I've actually got a question from Samad from the University of Leicester. So hi, Samad, and thank you for submitting your question. So they are asking if there's any specific voluntary work, personal projects, university modules that really stand out to you that they should include in their application.
There's not really like one particular thing. I would say that we look for well-rounded candidates. So, we want to see candidates who are involved in multiple different things. Don't be shy to tell us about, things that you're passionate about outside of your studies. We have amazing candidates who come through who are, extremely passionate about, completely different topics than what they're working in. So it's a really nice thing to see. In regards to like applications that stand out, kind of what makes you you, what drives you, what motivates you, what are key things that you're working on and developing on. So the questionnaire is a really great opportunity to kind of cover all of these different topics.
Yeah, perfect. And then finally, the technical questions that you've just mentioned. Have you got any specific hints and tips about students who are going to do the technical questions when they've submitted their application?
Yeah, so I think our technical tests are really designed to kind of test applied knowledge. So one of the key questions that the candidates always ask me is, what can I study beforehand, or what texts can I review? And it's not really about that. It's kind of, it's more about, okay, from your course and your learning, how do you approach these different scenarios and these different questions and kind of put your learning into practice. So there's nothing really particular for you to study. It's just more of, okay, show us what you can do with what you've learned so far.
Fantastic. And deadlines for opportunities, where the students need to be working towards?
Sorry?
So deadlines for your opportunities. So we're going live tomorrow. What's the deadline on them?
And then our closing date is then September 24th. So the Tuesday.
Right. Okay, so not long to get your application.
Yeah. 2 weeks from the go live.
Yeah.
So again, I always say to candidates, please don't wait till the last minute. Get your application in there. You don't want to miss out. I know it's just a 2-week window, and sometimes people think that they've got loads of time, but please do get it in there. We want to hear from you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You don't have a lot of time, so make sure you get your applications in. And then just to bring it kind of back to the webinar, Angela, and the students who are on the webinar now. So without giving too much away, but what kind of things stood out to you from these guys here who applied?
So, I mean, I think I don't want to embarrass these guys. I'm gushing about them too much. I think, everybody really showed great aptitude to learn and to develop, and great problem solving skills. I think we have quite a rigorous process in regards to, our assessment centers. But I would say to candidates who are maybe nervous about assessment centers, we try to operate a really nice model where, you have one-to-one time with various hiring managers. So it is a really nice program and a nice day. And, these guys were really good at kind of relating their experiences and kind of illustrating what they could bring to the team and their potential.
Wow, well done, guys.
Well
So kind of just to really go back to the interns as well. So we've got a question from Ellie at Liverpool John Moore University, and she was asking about how you guys found the application process. How did you prepare, and also how did you prepare for the assessment centre? So Maddie and Matthew, I think you're going to speak about this area here. So who wants to go first? Who would like to give hints and tips on how did you both prepare?
Go on, you can go, Maddie.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So, I mean, I started my application with watching this last year, and there were different roles on here. So I don't think we had an applied science person, but
Yes.
I liked the sound of the role. So I kind of, applied online, filled out like 4 questionnaires because I went for 4 different roles.
Did you? Okay, interesting.
Recommend copying and pasting your answers. They are the same questions. But then I looked into like the company values. So we have our pride values, which could be found on the website.
Yeah.
And I kind of just thought about how can I relate things on my CV back to those, because they like to see that you're willing to become part of the company and like you understand what it's about being here. So I definitely recommend to anyone looking to apply to like have a snoop about the website, and just make sure like this is the right company for you and it's what you kind of want to do.
So you mentioned, Maddie, that you applied to 4 opportunities. How did that process then work? Were you just selected for one, or did you think, oh, I fancy one in particular more than the others? Tell us a little bit about that side of things.
Yeah, so you get sent the tests to do, and I think from the roles I applied, they all had the same tests. So luckily, I only had to do each of them once.
Yes.
And then you based on those scores, you might be invited to interview, or straight to assessment centre, depending on how each department is doing it. And then Angela will contact you and be like, congrats, come in for the assessment centre. And it is a really great day. Honestly, just being on site and getting the tour was, I thought, if I don't get the job, I'm just going to enjoy this experience because it was just incredible to be here. And you do about 4, 5, 6 interviews and then a group activity. And then they, say, thanks for coming, off you go. And you just kind of wait to hear if Angela calls you back.
Oh, it's so personal, isn't it? It's always Angela, who calls you up to offer the positions as well. So at least you've met Angela, you know what she looks like, you know what she's about, which is good. Thanks, Maddie. Anything that you wanted to add, Matthew, since as they just palmed that question off on Maddie? Is there anything to add?
No, I mean, Maddie answered it perfectly. I think, I mean, there will be technical. I think I had 4 interviews. 2 of them were technical. 2 of them were a bit more conversational.
Yeah.
But it's, again, nothing you're, not knowing the answer. You don't come out of an interview and think, oh, I didn't know the answer to that question, so it's completely gone. It's part of the process is just think out loud. Even if you don't get to the right answer, think about what you're thinking. You'll be able to tell. They'll sort of nod and guide you through and whatnot. So just think out loud. And actually, once you get to a point where you're like, well, that's where I would sort of stop, and then go and find some more advice, and then ask them questions as well. You'll get an opportunity to ask each of your interviewers a question at the end. So make sure you do use that. And and just like Maddie said, go on the factory tour and just really enjoy it. It's a really nice day. So make the most of it.
Perfect. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Matthew, and thank you everybody for taking part in the webinar today. So, like I keep saying, the opportunities will open on Gradcracker tomorrow. So give Mercedes Family a quick follow and to be alerted when the opportunities go live. And don't forget, like these guys mentioned, like they did last year, the webinar will be on Gradcracker, so you can watch that within the next couple of days. And we'll also break it down into bite-sized chunks as well, with hints and tips from the interns and from Angela about how you can be successful when you're getting your application in. So thanks, guys. It's been brilliant. Can't wait for this time next year when we've got another webinar with you. Don't forget to everybody about the question facility that we've just mentioned as well. So go and submit your questions for the future webinars that we've got coming up. And also Jess is not with me on Thursday, it's Sophie. So Sophie's going to join me on Thursday with Zurich. So register to be alerted to that webinar, and we'll speak to you all later on.
And one thing we're saying tomorrow is Tuesday the 10th. So for anyone
Tuesday
that's
the 10th.
recording,
Yeah.
Yes. Tuesday
Remember.
the 10th, 2024. September. Cool. Good luck, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for taking part,
Thank you
and
so
we'll
much.
see you all again
Lovely
soon.
to speak to you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.